Hi, guys. Welcome to week 1 of distance learning. How crazy, right? But here we are. I hope that you are safe and doing well. What I've done is I've done a slideshow of the entire math packet for the first week. And I thought that would be an easy way for me to kind of go step by step, page by page to help you through the assignments. For this lesson, we'll be going over square roots and Pythagorean theorem. Okay, so ultimately it's a long video. What you can do is pause whenever you need to finish a problem or to just take a break, and then you can rewatch and find the spot where you left off. Okay, so to get started, this first page here is the title page. So you should have either downloaded and printed or picked up a paper packet from the school. So this shows you the due date right here is April 23rd. This next page is kind of your checklist. You're going to read and complete the introduction, copy notes into your math notebook. It starts at 31. So I'll actually post, I think, in Google Classroom, all of the notes so you can make a resource so you're ready for high school with that. You can either copy the notes down or you can actually print this and just put it into your binder. That would be fine too. Then we're going to look at the study notes, which is actually from the red resource folder. And then there is a step-by-step instructions from the course outline. We're going to complete the assignments. There are 4 for this week. And then if you would like to, there's a challenge problem, which is kind of cool. And then for your enrichment, you can continue with your iReady lessons. Other good enrichment activities are going to be Prodigy, SumDog, Khan Academy, anything where you are just continuing your learning. Okay, so let's go to our next page here. I put this second just to talk about it, but this is at the very end of your packet for math, multiplication table and division table. And of course you can use a calculator, which will be your phone, correct? You guys have been waiting to use your phone for class. So here's your chance from comfort of your own home. All right. Oh, here's our next page here. All right. And I actually left my phone. So let me get my calculator. Okay, hold on. All righty, here we go. Simplifying square roots. My calculator ready. So it says, what is the square root of 27? Use a calculator to get the answer. Is this the exact answer? So if I were to put in on my iPhone here, 27, you have to turn it sideways, and it's going to be the square root that has the little 2 on it. So it goes 2 square root x, and that means square root. The next one with the 3 would be a cube root. Okay, so I come up with, you probably can't even see that. Oh, you can. But is it backwards? It is. 5.19 and a bunch of numbers. So it's not really exact because that decimal keeps going. So here's what you're going to do. What if you do want the exact answer? Can we use a calculator? If no, what can we do? Is there a perfect square other than 1 that is a factor of 27? Okay, so here is the factor tree. Let me get my pencil. And so here's our factor tree right here. So when you do your factor tree, you have your number on top, so that's our 27. And then you're going to say what 2 integers multiplied times each other equal 27. So for this, we have 1 and 27, 3 and 9. So you look at it and you say, what is the largest perfect square? And that's going to be 9. And a perfect square is when 2 numbers, a number times itself equals another whole number. Okay, so the exact answer would be the square root of 27 is the square root of 9 times 3. You can separate that out into square root of 9 times square root of 3 and solve that, and it equals 3 times the square root of 3. Okay, so now we're going to try it. It says, now you try it. What is the exact square root of 48? Okay, so here is our factor tree. 1 times 48, 2 times 24, 3 times what? 4 times 12, 6 times 8. So we can assume where that little question mark is, that's going to be our perfect square. So it turns out to be that 3 times 16 is 48. Okay, so we are going to, let me get a different color pen here. All right, so square root of 48, we can pull those out into square root of 3 times 16. I'm going to go up here to the top. I guess I should have started there, but that's okay. I'm going to separate those. So that gives me the square root of 3 times the square root of 16. I know that 16 is a perfect square. 4 times 4 is 16. So square root of 3 times 4. And of course, the way that we write that would be 4 times the square root of 3. Okay, so that's our answer for what is the square root of 48. Down here it says, woohoo, great job. Now find the exact square root of 96. So let's clear our screen here. Okay, so our first step is to make our factor tree. And I feel as I lean in to write on my Chromebook, it makes my face real big, but good thing it's a little thumbnail in the corner. So here is my factor tree. I have 96. Okay, so I know, of course, 1 times 96 is an even number, so it's going to be divisible by 2. 45 and 45 is 90, and then 6, that's going to be 3 more, so that's going to be 2 times 48. 3 goes into 9 3 times and into 6 twice. 4, we'll go into 4. Yeah, let's see here. 4 goes into 9 2 times, which is 8. Oh, it leaves us with 16. That's going to be 4 goes into 16 4 times. Not by 5. 6. 6 goes into 9 once. That would leave us 36. Oh, 16, that's a perfect square. I bet that's it. 7, no. 8. Oh, 8 might go in there. 8 goes into 9 one time, leaves us 16. There it is, winner, winner. 6 and 16. Okay, so square root of 96 equals square root of 6 times 16. We're going to divide those out or separate those. So that is the square root of, quiet guys, square root of 6 times the square root of 16. Okay. Oh, no, you can't be on this one. Sorry, bud. And then I know that the square root of 16 is a perfect square, so that's going to be 4. So that equals 4 times the square root of 6. Okay, honey, come on out. All right, so we're going to take a pause right there. Let's see. Oh, and pause. All right. Okay, so we are going to move on to our next page here. Let me get my pointer. Here are our notes, and it should look very familiar to you. This is how we've done our notes all year long. So this is simplify square roots. Okay, so the first thing is, it says to recall the distributive property. Okay, so let's see, which I can get a pointer in here. Oh, look, it's trying to move it. Don't move. There we go. All right, so we have A times B plus C. It distributes out to AB plus AC. Well, it also works for square roots. So you'll see this first example here. 5 times the square root of 2 plus 4 times the square root of 2 equals. So what they have in common is that square root of 2. Take both of them out, and that gives you square root of 2 times 5 plus 4. You can add those together, and that gives us 9 times the square root of 2. Okay, so same thing. Let's erase those. Same thing for this next example right here. 2 times the square root of 3 minus 7 times the square root of 3. First thing you're going to do is you're going to add the opposite. And then pull that square root of 3 out. And that gives you square root of 3 times 2 plus negative 7. 2 plus negative 7 is negative 5, gives you an answer of negative 5 times the square root of 3. Okay, so for the product, this is going to be for multiplication. Product property of square roots. We have square root of xy. You can separate those out, and you saw that we did that in the introduction. So that gives us square root of x times square root of y. Down here in our example, we have square root of 50. And here is our reminder. Find the largest factor that is a perfect square. Okay, so 50 is easy. It's going to be 25. So 25 times 2 is the same as 50. Then you can separate those out. Square root of 25 times square root of 2. Square root of 25 is a perfect square root, so that gives us 5 times the square root of 2. Down here for square root of 45, we have 9 times 5 is 45. 9, of course, is a perfect square root. Square root of 9 times square root of 5 is the same as 3 times the square root of 5. Okay, so our next section here is quotient. So product means it is going to be multiplication, and quotient is going to be division. Okay, so up here, my pen, quotient property of square root. If we have the square root of x divided by y, then we can also make that square root of x over the square root of y. Here's our examples. Square root of 11 over 16. Separate that out, square root of 11 over square root of 16. And 16, of course, is a perfect square, so that gives us square root of 11 divided by 4. Right here, this is what shows us that quotient property. So if we have 5 over a squared, separate it out, square root of 5 over square root of a squared equals square root of 5 over a. Okay, so those are your notes. You can either hole punch them, put it into your notebook, or you can write it down if you're like me and you want it to match and be your same handwriting, right? Okay. Erase this page and moving on. So this page right here, this is your reference page. And in class, we call this the red resource book or the red resource folder. And you'll see up here, this has that 2b. So that's what we would use in our classwork. So this defines what a square root is. Square roots. Oh, and this one right here, in case you forgot, which can you imagine? That's going to be your state standard, okay? So it is, for 8th grade is the 8, and then EE is, what is it? Equations and, I brought it up, expressions. Oh my goodness, I forgot it. So equations and expressions, so square roots. The square root of a number is a number that when multiplied times itself equals the given number. Every positive number has a positive and a negative square root. And we know that because a negative times a negative equals what? A positive. Good. So right here in our example, square root of 4 equals 2, since 2 times 2 equals 4. And then here we have negative square root of 16. So that equals negative 4 because negative 4 times negative 4 is 16. Right here, if you want to do a plus or a minus, then your answer is either going to be plus or minus. And so whatever symbol it's showing you in front of that radical sign is telling you what the question's asking you to do, positive, negative, or either one. Okay, so all square roots are irrational. You just have to look at 1A. It was, which can't reference here, but that's for perfect squares. And perfect squares have a square root that is a whole number. It's not going to be a decimal. So our examples are 1, 4, 9, 16, 25, 36, 49. These are things that you should have memorized, I think, by 4th grade, but maybe you haven't. So 1 times 1 is 1, 2 times 2 is 4, 3 times 3 is 9, and all the way up. Usually you have it memorized up through 12 times 12 is 144. If you don't know those, I suggest learning those over the summer so you just have them memorized by the time you go to high school. Okay? Okay, here. So the 10th perfect square, what is that? 10 squared is 100. That one's easy. Over here, we have a factor tower. And we looked at that during the introduction also. So this page is in there to help you as a reference. This next page also is just kind of a step-by-step. And I do realize a lot of this is just getting you ready. Here it is, getting you ready to actually do the homework. And that really is a lot of what class is, right? You're learning it and then you're applying it in the work. So here we go. Square roots. A square root of a number. Where's my pen? A square root of a number is a number that when multiplied by itself equals the given number. The symbol, which is like this, is called a radical sign, and it's used to represent a square root. Okay, so we know all of these. These have actually shown up on our classwork since the very beginning of school back in August, where you had to say why. Square root of 4 is 2y. Well, that's because, or since, 2 times 2 equals 4. Okay, this goes over again right here. If you want it to be positive, negative, or either one. And let's see here. This one down here. Oh, this is big. I'll call your attention right here. Can we do the square root of a negative number? So does any number times itself equal negative 4? Well, it can't. So if we did 2 times 2 equals 4, or negative 2 times negative 2 equals 4, therefore, only positive numbers have a square root because it's times itself. It cannot change itself or its symbol to be multiplied for a square root. Okay, so all positive numbers have a square root right up here. Perfect squares are, and we just talked about that, goes down to 144. And of course, it can go higher than that, but those are the ones that traditionally you will have memorized. Okay, doing great. Erase this page. Okay, all right, so here's the beginning of our assignment. And so I'm going to give you just a second. I'd like you to pause right here if you don't have a piece of binder paper that you're going to work on, okay? So go take a pause right now and go get some binder paper. Okay, now that you have your binder paper, which, yes, you do have to do number 1 on your paper, okay? Of course. All right. So, how do I get that out of the way? I don't know. Can you guys see that? No. Here. All right. I don't know if you could see that recording tab or not, but I could, and that bugged me. Okay, so number 1, we are going to simplify the expressions. We have, so this is on number 1 here, square root of 80 over 121. So it says note can be rewritten as square root of 80 over square root of 121. So I'm going to do that. Square root of 80 over square root of 121. Well, I know 121 is a perfect square. That's 11 times 11. So I'm going to have square root of 80 over 11. Okay, so now I need to simplify square root of 80. And first thing I'm going to do is my factor tree. And here it is right here. Largest perfect square is 16. So that is going to be 5 times 16 over 11. Square root of 5 times square root of 16, which of course I know is 4 over 11. So that gives me 4 times the square root of 5 over 11. And woohoo, same thing that's right here. Okay, There's number 1. All right, so what I did is I put 2 through 6 here on this page, and I'll just go problem by problem and erase it each time. The answers are down at the bottom like we're used to. I want you to take a look right here where it says note. Reduce answer if possible. For example, 6 times the square root of 3 divided by 12. And cross out the 6, goes into 6 one time, and 6 goes into 12 two times. So that leaves us with square root of 3 over 2. Okay? Okay. Number 2 is what we are on. Square root of 27 over 64. And I went ahead and separated those out. Square root of 64 is 8. It's a perfect square. It gives a square root of 27 divided by 8. 27, we're going to do our factor tree. Put that guy over here. Of course, 1 times 27 is not divisible by 2. 3 times 9. 4, 5, that's it. Well, there we go. 3 times 9. So equals square root of 3 times 9 over 8. I'm going to put that up here equals, if I separate it out, square root of 3, square root of 9, all over 8. Square root of 9 is a perfect square, so it gives me 3 times the square root of 3 over 8. Cannot be simplified more than that. Here's my answer there. Looking over at my answer key. Oh, here it is. That one there. Okay, I don't know about you, but it seems like when I write on I have a touchscreen Chromebook, it jiggles. So if it's wiggly, that's what happens. That's just how it is. All right. Number 3. Man, that is a messy arrow. It's an arrow in case you're not sure. All right. Square root of 45. I'm going to go ahead and separate them out. There, that's a better arrow. Square root of 45 over the square root of 81. Square root of 81 is 9. Perfect square. And so I have square root of 45 over 9. Then we're going to do our factor tree. Of course, 1 times 45, not 2, 3 times 15, 4, 5, there we go, 5 times 9. I believe that is our winner. Okay, so for the largest perfect square equals square root of 5 times 9 over 9. Separate those out. Divided by 9. I'm running out of room here. So that is going to give us, this right here is 3 times the square root of 5 over 9. But it did say that we need to simplify that. So let's see, I'm just going to erase my factor tree here. Give me some more room on this side. All right, so I can simplify 3 and 9. 3 goes into 3 one time. 3 goes into 9 3 times. So my answer is going to be square root of 5 divided by 3. And here it is. There's that answer. All right, number 3. All right. My stylus, it works well, but it just gives me such fat handwriting. So bothers me I run out of room, but hopefully you're able to follow along. Okay. Number 4. Oh, I need back to my pen. There we go. Number 4. Square root of 72 over 49. So square root of 72. I know that the square root of 49 is 7. Okay, so that's perfect square. So now I need to do a factor tree for 72. I'll put it over here again. 1 times 72. 2 goes in there. Let's see, 35, 36. 3 goes into 7 twice. Leaves me with 12. So that'd be 24. 4. Oh, and actually, I don't even need to go further because I see that my numbers are getting smaller. So my largest perfect square is going to be that 36. So equals square root of 2 times 36. We are still over 7. Square root of 2 times square root of 36 divided by 7. Square root of 36 is 6, gives me 6 times the square root of 2 over 7. Okay, let's check our answer key over here. And here it is. Okay, number 4. All right, you guys doing okay? Hopefully it's starting to make more sense. Erase the screen. And that brings us to number 5. Square root of 80 over 400. Well, lucky for me, I know that 2 times 2 is 4. So if I add zeros, 20 times 20 must be 400. Okay, so here we go. That gives us square root of 80 equals over 20. Factor tree, 80. Here we go. 1 times 80, 2 times 40, 3. Let's see here. 3 goes in there twice. Oh, that does not work. All right. 4 goes in there 4 times 20. Okay. 5. 5 times 16. There we are. Because my next one, 6, that would be 8. Yeah, 8. All right. 5 times 16 equals square root of 5 times 16 over 20. Square root of 5 times square root of 16, which I know is 4, equals 4 times the square root of 5 over 20. But I'm not finished because I can simplify it. I see 4 over 20. 4 goes into 4 1 time. 4 goes into 20 5 times. So my answer is square root of 5 over 5. Box around my answer. Look over to my answer key. Oh, there it is. Hey, one more, you guys. One more. All right. Number 6. 75 divided by 25. Okay, so that equals, I know square root of 25 is 5. Square root of 75 over 5. And I can actually look at that and know what the perfect square is, but we're going to follow our procedures here. So 1 times 75, not divisible by 2, 3 times 25. There it is. Okay. So equals square root of 3 times square root, that is a times, 25 over 5 equals 5 times square root of 3 over 5. Look at that. I can simplify. 5 and 5 cancel each other out. Well, that's a funny equals. Square root of 3 is my answer. And yay, there it is. Wasn't too bad, right? So, of course, I wish I were teaching you guys in the classroom. It's a lot different talking to myself on the computer. I do miss you guys. I am going to take a pause here. If you want to take a pause before the next lesson, you can, or you can keep playing, okay? I guess my pause you won't notice because I'm going to pause my recorder, all right? There we go, pause. Okay, so we are moving on to the second assignment for week 1, and this is actually going to be solving equations that have square roots in it. So you can either do this on a fresh piece of binder paper, or you can use the back of the binder paper that you just used for the last assignment, okay? So yes, you still have to do number 1 on your paper. My pencil here. So number 1 says 2n plus 6 equals negative square root of 64. So I see this negative symbol here. And so that lets me know that whatever the square root of 64 is going to be negative, which I know that square root of 64 is 8. It's a perfect square. Okay, so right here it says a square root is a power. So do after parentheses. So I pulled this up to remind you. Here it is. PEMDAS. Did it work? Oh, there we go. PEMDAS, parentheses, exponents, multiply, divide, add, and subtract. Okay, so that is little review. Erase. All right, so here we have 2n plus 6 equals negative 64. We are going to first cancel out the 6. So we're going to subtract, or I guess add negative 6 to each side. Leaves us with 2n equals negative 14. Divide both sides by 2. Our answer is n equals negative 7. Okay. I always like solving for a variable. Okay. Here we go. So same thing as the last lesson. I have numbers 2 through 10 on this page. So I'll just work each problem here and keep erasing every time. Okay, and we're going to double check our answers down here at the bottom with our answer key. Okay, so over here to my color I like. Oh, where is it? There you are. All right. Number 2, 3n minus 6 equals negative 81. 3n, this is number 2. Look at my handwriting on these. All right, 3n, negative 6 or minus 6 equals negative square root of 81. I know the square root of 81 is 9. So 3n, I'm going to add the opposite, switch that right there, equals negative 9. Okay, so now I'm going to get rid of the 6. I'm going to add 6 to each side. Leaves me with 3n equals negative 3 because negative 9 plus 6 is negative 3. Divide each side by 3. Leaves me with n equals negative 1. Check it in my answer key. There it is. Okay, number 3. Oops, there's my pen. Number 3, I have 4n plus square root of 64 equals negative 4. 4n plus 8 equals negative 4. Now I'm going to solve for n. So I'm going to Add negative 8 to each side. Funny 8 right there. 4n equals, if I have a negative 4 and a negative 8, that gives me negative 12. Divide both sides by 4. N equals negative 3. And there's my answer. Okay, number 4. Negative 9n minus 1 equals negative square root of 100. It's like I hiccuped there. Okay, so I'm going to do a couple things in this first step. So I'm going to rewrite negative 9n plus a negative 1 equals square root of 100 is 10, and I know it needs to be negative, so it'll be negative 10. Now I'm going to add 1 to each side. That leaves me with negative 9n equals negative 9. Divide each side by negative 9. Negative divided by a negative is a positive, so n equals 1. And there it is. Okay. All right, we are now on number 5. Okay, number 5, 5n minus 15 equals 4 times square root of 25. Okay, 5n plus a negative 15, add the opposite, equals 4 times 5. 5n plus negative 15 equals 20. I'm going to add 15 to each side. Now I am solving for n. 5n equals 35. Divide each side by 5. Gives me n equals 7.
Are you done now?
Almost, buddy.
Okay.
All right, and
I'm gonna be done.
let's see. Okay, number 6. Let's see, 6 is negative 7n plus 3 equals negative 3 times square root of 36. Negative 7n plus 3 equals negative 3 times 6, because square root of 36 is a perfect square. Gives me negative 7n plus 3 equals negative 18. I want you guys to notice, even though it's sloppy with this stylus, but I always try to line up my equal signs. It just makes it easier for me to keep track of, okay? All right, so now we're going to solve for n. So I'm going to add a negative 3 to each side, which gives us negative 7n equals negative 21. Divide each side by negative 7. Negative divided by a negative is a positive, which gives me n equals 3. Okay, there's our answer here. Oh, erase. And number 7. There we go. Oh, you guys can't see my hand. It's weird. So when I'm writing, like it covers my little thumbnail of my face in the corner. So I don't know what I look like. probably look funny. And then I don't know if my hand's there, but I guess you can see my hand to start. Kind of weird. Anyway, number 7, 3n minus 5 equals square root of 169. That is also a perfect square. 13 times 13 equals 169. Add 5 to each side. Gives me 3n equals 18. Divide both sides by 3. And my answer is n equals 6. There it is. All right, that was number 7. Okay. Now, at this point, you should have this down. And so what would be nice is if you pause the video and worked out 8, 9, and 10 on your own, and then come back and play and see if you did it the same way I did. Okay? So that's how you're going to check that if you have mastered this. All right. Number 8. Kind of an 8. All right. 9n minus 24 equals square root of 144. So 9n, we're going to add the opposite, plus negative 24 equals 12. Add 24 to both sides. 24 plus 12 is 36. Divided by 9. 9 goes into 36 4 times, so n equals 4. Okay. Number 9. 6n plus square root of 49 equals negative 29. Square root of 49 is 7. Add negative 7 to each side. So let's see here, 29 plus 7 is going to be negative 36 divided by 6 on each side. N equals negative 6. And there he is down there. All right, one more. Yay! Okay, number 10. Negative 8n minus 12 equals square root of 400. And we had 400 earlier in this lesson. I know that that is 20. Okay, so negative 8n plus a negative 12 equals 20. Add 12 to each side. Negative 8n equals 32. Divide each side by negative 8. Positive divided by a negative is negative. So n equals negative 4. And there it is. Right? Okay. So that concludes our 2 lessons on square root. I'm going to stop this video right here and do a part 2, I think, for Pythagorean. I think that'll make it easier. I hope you guys are doing well. I hope that that worked. Go back. I know some of you are really serious about having a solid math foundation going on to high school. Put away this work, get out blank pieces of paper, and do it on your own without my help to see if you have mastered or if you understand. Okay? So I will do another video to go through your distance learning. Remember who you are. Remember what you stand for. and lead by example. All right. I miss you guys.